One of the things that I've now heard you talk a lot about and I have a particular interest in is physical AI. Or in other words, robots.
My friends.
Meaning humanoid robots, but also robots like self-driving cars and smart buildings or autonomous warehouses or autonomous lawnmowers or more. From what I understand, we might be about to see a huge leap in what all of these robots are capable of, because we're changing how we train them. Up until recently, you've either had to train your robot in the real world, where it could get damaged or wear down, or you could get data from fairly limited sources like humans in motion capture suits. But that means that robots aren't getting as many examples as they'd need to learn more quickly. But now, we're starting to train robots in digital worlds, which means way more repetitions a day, way more conditions, learning way faster. So we could be in a big bang moment for robots right now. And NVIDIA is building tools to make that happen. You have Omniverse, and my understanding is this is 3D worlds that help train robotic systems so that they don't need to train in the physical world.
That's exactly right.
You just announced Cosmos, which is ways to make that 3D universe much more realistic. So you can get all kinds of different, if we're training something on this table, many different kinds of lighting on the table, many different times of day, many different, experiences for the robot to go through so that it can get even more out of Omniverse. As a kid who grew up loving data on Star Trek, Isaac Asimov's books, and just dreaming about a future with robots, how do we get from the robots that we have now to the future world that you see of robotics?
Yeah. Let me use language models, maybe ChatGPT, as a reference for understanding Omniverse and Cosmos. And so first of all, when ChatGPT first came out, it was extraordinary, and it has the ability to do to basically from your prompt generate text. However, as amazing as it was, it has the tendency to hallucinate if it goes on too long, or if it pontificates about a topic it is not informed about. It'll still do a good job generating plausible answers. It just wasn't grounded into truth, and so people called it hallucination. And so the next generation, shortly, it had the ability to be conditioned by context. So you could upload your PDF, and now it's grounded by the PDF. The PDF becomes the ground truth. It could actually look up search, and then the search becomes its ground truth. And between that, it could reason about how to produce the answer that you're asking for. And so the first part is a generative AI, and the second part is ground truth. Okay, and so now let's come into the physical world, the world model. We need a foundation model, just like we need ChatGPT had a core foundation model. That was the breakthrough. In order for robotics to be smart about the physical world, it has to understand things like gravity, friction, inertia, geometric and spatial awareness. It has to understand that an object is sitting there even when I looked away. When I come back, it's still sitting there, object permanence. It has to understand cause and effect. If I tip it, it'll fall over. And so these kind of physical common sense, if you will, has to be captured or encoded into a world foundation model so that the AI has world common sense. Okay? And so somebody has to go create that, and that's what we did with Cosmos. We created a world language model. Just like ChatGPT was a language model, this is a world model. The second thing we have to go do is we have to do the same thing that we did with PDFs and context and grounding it with ground truth. And so the way we augment Cosmos with ground truth is with physical simulations. Because Omniverse uses physics simulation, which is based on principled solvers. The mathematics is Newtonian physics. It's the math we know. Okay, all of the The fundamental laws of physics we've understood for a very long time, and it's captured into Omniverse. That's why Omniverse is a simulator. And using the simulator to ground or to condition Cosmos, we can now generate an infinite number of stories of the future, and they're grounded on physical truth. Just like between PDF or search plus ChatGPT, we can generate an infinite amount of interesting things, answer a whole bunch of interesting questions. The combination of Omniverse plus Cosmos, you could do that for the physical world.
So to illustrate this for the audience, if you had a robot in a factory and you wanted to make it learn every route that it could take, instead of manually going through all of those routes, which could take days and could be a lot of wear and tear on the robot, we're now able to simulate all of them digitally in a fraction of the time and in many different situations that the robot might face. It's dark, it's blocked, it's etc. So the robot is now learning much, much faster. It seems to me like the future might look very different than today. If you play this out 10 years, how do you see people actually interacting with this technology in the near future?
Cleo, everything that moves will be robotic someday, and it will be soon. You know, the idea that we'll be pushing around a lawnmower is already kind of silly. You know, maybe people do it because it's fun, but there's no need to. And every car is going to be robotic. Humanoid robots, the technology necessary to make it possible is just around the corner. And so everything that moves will be robotic. And they'll learn how to be a robot in Omniverse Cosmos, and will generate all these physically plausible futures, and the robots will learn from them, and then they'll come into the physical world, and it's exactly the same. A future where you're just surrounded by robots is for certain, and I'm just excited about having my own R2-D2. And of course, R2-D2 wouldn't be quite the can that it is and roll around. It'll be R2-D2. Yeah, it'll probably be a different physical embodiment, but it's always R2. So my R2 is going to go around with me. Sometimes it's in my smart glasses. Sometimes it's in my phone. Sometimes it's in my PC. It's in my car. So R2 is with me all the time, including, when I get home, where I left a physical version of R2, and, whatever that version happens to be, we'll interact with R2. And so I think the idea that we'll have our own R2-D2 for our entire life, and it grows up with us, that's a certainty now. Yeah.